I've been thinking about my trip to Guatemala ever since I got back. It was exciting and interesting and thought-provoking in all the ways I expected, and in several ways I had no idea were coming. Such is the way of international travel. I went with my family and another family we've been friends with since I was in middle school. We took my 10-year-old cousin, and it was great to see how he reacted to Guatemala being both so similar and completely different from California. Antigua, Guatemala is so named because it used to be the capital of Central America, but after floods and earthquakes that destroyed the city more than once, the capital was moved to Guatemala City. So now it's a town with a lot of history, but the only industry is tourism. There are some great architectural sites, but behind almost every wall is a ruin, many of which you can pay a nominal fee to explore and climb. It's a strange thing to see present-day people living and working in a city so clearly unchanged from colonial days. The whole thing reminded me of visiting Salem, Massachusetts. The history of this place so overshadows the present that it's inescapable, and everything feels like a museum. Every building you see has some story from the colonial days. Our hotel used to be a convent. The nuns were not allowed to be seen by the outside world, so when they bought the land across the street to expand the convent, they had to build this covered bridge for the nuns. It's now one of the architectural icons of Antigua. One of the things I kept noticing was how adaptable humans are. The Mayan civilization had declined before the Spanish got there to conquer them, but the Mayan people still kept their culture and rituals intact. They still do. They've been treated poorly for centuries, like most indigenous peoples in a conquered land, but the Maya still speak their own language. There are 20-something languages recognized in Guatemala and southern Mexico. But they don't just preserve their culture as if the world around them isn't changing. When the Spanish came and converted all the Mayans to Catholicism, the Maya complied, or at least they added Catholic beliefs to what they were already doing. I wrote a paper about this Mayan syncretism a couple of years ago, and it was strange to see it in real life and actually have an idea of what was going on. There's the Mayan spiritualism that has remained relatively unchanged, and it can be seen when people gather at the old Mayan sites, like here in the ruins of Ixmiche. Shamans or spiritual guides, or whatever you want to call them in English, can be either men or women. The Mayan calendar determines which day of the month is set aside to ask for health or crops or peace or whatever. Syncretism can be seen in the cemeteries, which are ostensibly Christian with their crosses and flowers, but are nonetheless sites of Mayan rituals with fires and incense and sacrifices that you would never find in a Catholic cemetery in France. And then there are the churches themselves. In this church, the same style of altar as in the cemetery is found all down the center aisle. There aren't coals and ashes, but there are candles and flowers. The same rituals they were doing in the ruins and cemeteries are done in the churches, but with a layer of Christianity on top. They pray to God and Mary and Jesus and Santiago and Brother Peter, as well as respect the sun and moon and calendar and diet and ritual that they never stopped following. The Antigua Cathedral is a ruin. The ceiling long ago fell in an earthquake. Columns have toppled and been stabilized. All of the decorations and non-stone parts have long ago been taken or lost. But under the main altar, the cathedral is still being used. There is Mayan symbolism all over, from the number of steps making the pyramid at the front to the day when the sun aligns to light up the underground room. But what do we find there where candles are still being lit? A crucifixion scene. This is Antigua, or maybe all of Guatemala, in one scene. The seamless mixture of Mayan and Catholic religion, the ruins that point to a golden age long ago, and the people still living and carrying on with their lives, despite all of the problems. It's glimpses like this that show the elusive, real Guatemala. The people of Antigua are walking in literal shadows of colonial nuns. Everything is run with tourism in mind, but this is genuine. And I wish I didn't have to try so hard to find the genuine. I wish people didn't feel they had to put on some sort of show, and that realization is the best souvenir I could hope to take home.